They are now. Welcome back to the workshop. So here's today a HRE Uncut. We're going to just do a bit of a walk around the workshop and just show you projects and where they are. We're in the front space of our workshop. This is where we work on project cars or cars that we're doing for customers. Bits and bobs. You'll recognize this car. We worked on this and have been working on this, well, thanks to COVID and everything else that was there for the last year or so, and it's really very close to finale. We'll look, its engine is finished, it's in the engine shop, and the interior just got painted the other day, and we gave the engine bay a quick lick of paint as well. This car came to us, as I said, probably about a year ago now, for the customer wanted to get the car probably to a better spec or a better race spec, and we'll look back through our videos. We made a gear linkage, an internally mounted gear linkage. We've remounted and moved the seat into a much better position. We stripped down the engine, found loads of problems with that, and rebuilt the gearbox, found problems with that as well, put it in. And we're also having to go with the brakes and suspension. So really we're kind of fully race prepping this car. Is it an all-out race car? Not quite. Obviously working within budgets and that sort of thing. We're trying to just get the customer the best value possible for money. So a balance between a sympathetic, rebuild of the engine and reorganizing the car to make it hopefully handle better. He's some absolutely beautiful wheels coming in the next few days for this. Can't wait to show you those when they come. A really nice seat and seat brackets gone into the car. As I said, we've been giving it some paint work. So hopefully now over the next week or so, this is going to really finish up now and get ready to go off to the rolling road. One of the only other big jobs we have to do is to build an anti-roll bar for it. So we might get a bit of footage of that on the channel, either in shorts, or we might do a bit of a video on it. Moving around in the shop, we'll see we have some other cars in here. You might recognize this, the Riley. I did a video on this a while ago, fitting an A-panel on a door. The Riley came to us for, well, pretty much a full restoration. And here in my shop, these are sort of projects of just interest for me. I take these jobs on because I really want to do them, or I'm really interested in them. So we here don't, churn cars through. We do cars, bits and this, bits and that, and bits in the machine shop and stuff. So this has been with us for quite a while now, and as you can see, it's over on its side now, and it has just had a lovely fresh coat of paint, primer, under seal. Again, this is a sympathetic restoration to this car. The customer didn't have the budget to put all new floors and all new panels in it, so where possible we retained original panels, patched areas that had bad places in it. Some of this work is not my own. This car had a boot floor put in. Well, a repair here to boot floor, that's not my work at all. And there's some patches here that were nothing to do with me. Me and the customer had a discussion. They're not the most prettiest work, but they're actually very sound. They were good welding and they're solid, so we left good enough alone. We, however, did do sills on the car. We did floor repair panels. We put front floors in here. We repaired the cross member. We put all new inner sills into the car, new A panels, new door frames, mostly all below the car work. So yeah, it has its coat of paint. The car had been converted from hydroelastic to rubber cone suspension, but the customer, and both myself and the customer, thought about this, and we really wanted to put the car back to original, back to its proper hydroelastic. So that's actually going to be the next step. We want to put in all our brake lines, the battery line, the hydroelastic displacer lines, and then we'll be able to put this car back down onto the ground and stand it up and put its subframes. You can see the subframes are over here in the corner. They came back from powder coat, blast and powder coat. They're ready to get rebuilt. Well, they're there probably about 6 months, but they are ready to rebuild now. Spiders have made a lovely home in them, but yeah, they're nearly there. Our beautiful Cooper S in here, this is belonging to one of a very close friend and customer of mine, and he races in the same team I do, Team Era. This is the Cooper S that between 3 of us, mainly in fairness to the customer, a friend of mine, Neil, who you'll have seen him on the channel before, and myself. I built the motor, transmission, gearbox for this. I wired the car and did a few other little bits and pieces on it, and then the rest of the work the customer did himself. He did all the metal work, got all the welding done, had the car painted, built all the subframes for this car. Why is it in here? We did over last year, the car came, we knew it was going to be off the road for pretty much the year because of the way things were. We stripped the motor, rebuilt it. You'll remember at some stage, if you're following this channel for a while, there was an oil pressure problem on this, which we traced back to a faulty oil pump on the rebuild. There's a good video on that. I'll put a link up to it in this corner, isn't it? Yeah, over here. It'll be here. So yeah, that was a really interesting video. We problem solved this engine, figured it out, got that engine in and running. I had some other bits and pieces to do to the car. We did a little bit of an ignition problem, turned out to be a faulty coil, and we were waiting for needles to come for the carburetors. They've all come, and that's actually up and running. I got it started the other day, got oil pressure up, got it done. That's also going to go off now for a rolling road tune, and yeah, that'll be that out of the workshop. So hopefully in the next couple of weeks we're going to get this guy off out to paint. That one's going to go back to the customer, and this one will go for a rolling road, and then hopefully out and do some testing. It's getting to that time of year now where people are getting itchy to test race cars and rally cars, because in the next couple of days, or next couple of weeks should I say, the season will be kicking off and events will be happening. Now I suppose it's time to go back through into the engine shop and have a look and see what we're doing in there. Right, we're back in the engine shop now. We have a load of work going through the shop here. The place is packed out with stuff. I'll just show you some of the stuff we're doing. We've brakes to rebuild. This is something that I do periodically during the year. Our kits of these are gone really, really low, so we take these as exchange. This one's actually in pretty good nick, but it needs new wheel cylinder, and we're probably going to replace the linings as well because they got contaminated with brake fluid. But we've a heap of these left and right. Customers give us old units, refurbish them, put new brakes, new wheel cylinders, new adjusters, new springs, get the back plate sandblasted and powder coated, and then they're ready to go back on arms. Over here, yeah, this is just some of the components. This is just in for a bit of refurb. This is the last part of the engine for that purple race car, so just a few little bits to sort out here. Want to blast those, get a coat of paint on them, just replace some bearings and bits and pieces. Just a quick one right at this point to say thank you very much to everybody who follows the channel along. Haven't done one of these H3 Uncuts in a while, so I hope you guys enjoyed this. Just a bit of a diversion. I know a lot of people asked for these over the last couple of months, so yeah, I thought I'd bring it in. Thank you very much, guys. If you've been following this channel for as long as you have, it is absolutely great to have you here. If you're new to the channel and this is your first time watching one of our videos, why don't you head into our back catalogue, have a look. We have a ton of stuff in there. If it's not machining, it's building engines. If it's not building engines, it's working on minis or doing different kinds of fabrication or restoration stuff. So have a look around, and if you like what you see, hit that old subscribe button, and we release content regularly every week. So it's nice to have you guys here. We do lives as well. Speaking of lives, if you didn't see, we released a new t-shirt. I want to do Superman pull off my shirt and show you underneath, but nah, you're not going to get to see that. We released a new t-shirt, which is very well designed by Billy, our Husky Race Engineering t-shirt. Well, Lewis did the artwork, in fairness, and another top class member of our group here, and Billy came up with the idea. So our Husky Race Engineering, featuring our absolutely beautiful Husky Arkham with a pair of racing goggles and a helmet on him, going racing. So we're really proud of that t-shirt. It's been selling well since the live, so get over there, have a look at those. They're really cool. And yeah, don't forget, if you like this kind of content, hit that like button and let us know what you want to see on the next videos. Right, moving on. What else have we got going on the bench here? We have another clutch in. Customer dropped this in the other day. He just wants me to strip it down, clean it up, check for check and tune it. We've done videos on this before. I tuned these flywheels to make them work the best they can, increase the clamping load, reduce the pedal pressure, and balance it to get it right. Over there in the corner is a stack of pre-Vertos. These have been building up over the last couple of days, or Vertos should I say, over the last couple of days. People have been dropping me in Verto flywheels like they're going out of fashion for me to use for our twin plate clutches. Alright, we'll spin you around now and just show you what's going on over here. So stacks of arms. These are rear swing arms, and I literally have a shelf full of them. They're all to get done. There's more of them over in the corner over there. Those arms are all come in to get new bushings and swivel pins put in them. Some of them are to be converted to the twin bearing setup that I do, and some of them are just for a re-bush and bearing, staying back to standard. So yeah, I need to spend a day making arms. I'm gonna have to set up the milling machine and spend the day at it. A couple of engines to be built over here. We've got a 1293 kind of semi-race. It's dry decked, bits and pieces. Very interesting engine actually, that I might do a bit more of it on the channel over the next couple of months. This engine's actually going to go to a Mini that's in Australia. It's an Irish guy who his brother lives in Australia, and they're restoring a Mini out there, and he watches the channel, and originally he was building the engine himself, but he's a very, very busy guy, a bit like myself, and said to me, do you know what, Paul, I'm just going to get you to build the engine in its entirety for this car. So yeah, that engine is going to be built. It's a 1293, and that will be leaving here and going to Australia, which is kind of cool. That's another 1293cc motor. That's an Irish car being restored, not actually too far from this workshop. A nice chap, and that's its crankshaft, just came back from balancing engine block. So that's going to be built. Hiding in there is a cylinder head to be done. Here, really far down in front of you, got poor Billy, you'll have to beat him into the corner so that you can see this. That's the engine from the purple and red roofed race car. It was all completely together, but then I decided at the last minute I wanted to change the drop gear ratios after thinking about the diff and whatever. You see me build this gearbox on the channel actually not that long ago. We fitted one of our in-house tuned oil pumps, and yeah, we've decided to change the primary gear ratio slightly because this car has 13-inch wheels, and I got thinking about it a little bit. I want to give them a better gear ratio. So yeah, that's just needs to have the drop gears put back on, well, the drop gear housing put back on, and the covers, and then that's going to go back into the race car and get ready for it to be tuned. So yeah, that's kind of most of what's in the shop. Will I give you a little sneaky behind the scenes on the clutch? Go on then, I will. Billy give it to me for doing this now, but sure. Anyway, we'll do it. We'll get you over there. So, anybody who watched pre-Verto, or Verto, over the last while, we've been building a jig here in the shop so that we can build our own double spring or twin spring clutches, a bit like Robert's RTS clutch, or well, based on that idea. Now, if anybody watched the last video, and if you didn't, go watch it and then come back and watch this last bit because it's very interesting. We laser cut a plate here that lined up with a pin boss that we have here, and yeah, we made a pin to go into that. And when I was using that to index this so I could drill out the rivets to be able to strip this clutch apart. And when I was doing that, as I was turning this, the drill bit wasn't lining up with the rivets, which I initially immediately blamed myself and said that I mustn't have got my hole circle right on this plate. After that, loads of commenters, and in fact, a couple of people called me. One guy from Australia, yeah, seems like we get a good followership in Australia, an engineer out there called me and said, you know what, Paul, I'm not too sure that it might be your plate that's the problem. He said, your laser cut plate could be perfectly fine. He said, check your rivet spacings. He said, not necessarily minis, but I've come across a problem before where these rivet spacings weren't correct on a different type of clutch setup. So he said, maybe that could be your problem. Which of course spurred me on to thinking he wasn't the only one. A couple of other people mentioned it as well. So I got the old very near calipers out and started doing a bit of measurement, and it wasn't long before I realized, well, it was tight on that one. And then I went to the next one, play, Go around to the next one, dead tight. Go around to the next two, play. And these two, too tight, have to go bigger to get onto that one. So I measured all the way around here, and there's a variation of these rivet holes where they come together and move apart of up to 0.5 mil. So some of them are 0.5 mil closer together than others, and some of them then of course are the adverse, they're 0.5 mil apart. And it's like across the board and not necessarily any two the same. So, hate to say this, but our rig is absolutely perfect. The clutch diaphragm that we bought from the manufacturer has the rivets in all different places. The rivets are not all in the same spot, which is going to be kind of hard to get around. I would have thought that I could build my really accurate jig to go off of what I thought would be a really accurately machined flywheel, or well, pressure plate. Turns out they're not machined that accurately. So I have a heap of them ordered. They're on their way, and we're going to start measuring a few of them and see, is this something that's just specific to this one, or is there an inaccuracy across the board? Look, if there is an inaccuracy across the board, we're just going to have to do away with this pin system that I was hoping to be able to use, and we're just going to have to freehand it and center punch each rivet and just drill through the center. The good news is though, I got through the center of all the rivets, even though, you know, they didn't all dead line up. I drilled right through the center of all the rivets and got on center, as you can see by the fact that that spacer is turning around. So that's a little sneaky behind the scenes on the preverter clutch. Hope you enjoyed that little wander around the workshop and got to see some of the projects. Comment about any of the projects down below. If you would like to see any of the particular stuff that's going on, let us know in the comment section below, and we'll try and make videos on those specific topics for you. And other than that, see you guys on the next one.